All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. And I am not sure if it's going live, but hopefully it is. Oh, good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I am so glad to have you joining me today. I am so excited to be talking about this topic today. My name is Sarah, and I am a startup coach, meaning I help you get started in your business by taking the guesswork out of what you need to do next. And you can avoid the mistakes that I made in building my business by learning from me and have more success sooner and faster without frustration and without the procrastination that comes with not knowing what to do next. If you're watching this live, welcome. And if you are watching this in the future, welcome to you too. And I would just encourage you that if you've missed my Facebook Lives in the past, that you would go back and watch those. They are in the guide section on my Facebook group called Do the Right Work. It's a great place for you to start. So let's start talking today about this topic that is near and dear to my heart, because I wish that someone had told me some of these things and guided me through some of these things sooner in my business. I think I would have had a lot more success faster and a lot less frustration. And I certainly would not have felt like I was spinning my wheels for so long. I think it would have saved me a lot of headaches and trouble at the beginning of building my business. And the truth is that many coaches and many courses that you find out there are going to tell you to do something different. And I want to teach you a better way. They're going to start by telling you that you need to start building your business by thinking about your customer first. What are you going to offer to them that they need? What problem are you going to solve for them, to get clarity around your customer, or to think about what your customer wants or needs? And I actually disagree with that advice. I think it's backwards. You have to start building your business with you in mind first. If you aren't at your best, you aren't going to be able to offer your best to whatever customer you end up selling to or providing a service to. So how do we do this? How do we start mindfully with ourselves when we are beginning our business? If you missed my Facebook Live from a couple of weeks ago about the 3 mistakes I made that I wish I hadn't made at the beginning of my business, then go back and check that out, and I will drop a link below on that video, because some of the stuff that I'm talking about today relates back to those 3 mistakes I made at the beginning. So here are 3 things that you can do really quickly this morning to start with yourself in your business so that you can really set yourself up for success in the long run. The first thing that I would suggest that you do as you're building your business, and let's say you've already started and you've already got some courses or you've got some lead magnets out there, it's okay. You can pause for just a moment and go back and do this work, and it will still be beneficial to you. And I would say doing this activity, this exercise that I'm going to tell you, would be good to do on a yearly basis to just kind of check in with yourself, see how you're doing personally in your business building. So the first thing you can do is take a personal and business inventory. This is crucial to me that you do this inventory first before you start thinking about your client or your customer. You have to know where you're starting from. I've been reading the book of Numbers. I've been in the Old Testament reading through the Bible, which I know Numbers is often a rarely read book, but it's actually a really fascinating book. And in that book, in the Bible, in Numbers, there are 2 censuses. I don't know if the word is censuses or censi, but there are 2 of them that God asks Moses to conduct. One at the beginning, when they've just left Egypt and are going to settle in the wilderness. And they need to know how many people they brought out of Egypt, how much stuff they have, how much livestock. They actually plundered the Egyptians when they left after the night of Passover. So how much stuff do we have to work with here? They needed to conduct that census to know that. Then, unfortunately, the Israelites kind of messed up, so they ended up wandering in the desert for the next 40 years, and they needed to conduct a census again at the end of that time before they entered into the promised land. And so to me, that's really a good business principle of before we go and take the next big step, like conquering the promised land, we better know who's with us, what we have available to us, what resources we have, and where we're lacking, so that we can figure out how to overcome that deficit. So conducting this personal and business inventory to me is really crucial. There's also a biblical principle in the book of Luke where Jesus tells his disciples, who of you, if you wanted to build a tower, wouldn't first count the cost of to see if he can complete it. In other words, you wouldn't start building a tower or building a house or building a business if you hadn't counted the cost first to know what you're going to need in order to be successful in the long run. And to me, I was listening to a podcast this morning. The gal was talking about in your business, you want to create income, but you also want to have impact. And so doing a personal inventory and a business inventory of your resources will help you know what kind of resources you have available so you can maximize your impact that you're having on others. So you need to do this exercise for yourself. So some questions you can ask are, what do I love doing? What do I not love doing? What do I do easily? What is really hard for me that I may eventually need to outsource to someone else? Who is on my team? And you may not have employees, but you definitely have people that you need on your team as you're building this business. And actually in a couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about that. There's 3 different types of people you're going to encounter on your business building journey. And we're going to talk about who those 3 people are later on in April. So I hope you catch that Facebook Live. What deficits do I have? Where am I lacking in knowledge or resources as I build this business? And I talked about in another Facebook Live about roadblocks that you face. And you want to address some of those here at the very beginning of your business building so that you can have a plan to overcome them. That might be where you need to purchase a course or hire a coach. But you don't know what those deficits are unless you've done kind of this census taking or this inventory. You've got to know all of this information up front, both personally and for your business. Then once you know this information, you can create a solid plan for building your business, and it will actually be a business that you love because it's based on who you are, what you're good at, what you love doing, and the resources that you have available, instead of building that business based on customers, which you do want to get to that point of what do you have to offer that is actually wanted by people. But first you need to know who you are, what you have to offer, and what you love to do. So that's my first piece of advice when you are building a business, is to start with you and that personal inventory. The second thing that really gets overlooked when people are building a business is they don't establish purposeful work habits. They make their business like a hobby, and a hobby doesn't have impact for the most part, and it doesn't create income for the most part. And you are building a business, and a business requires specific work habits to be successful. I think a lot of times when we start out in business, we just wing it, and we're working all the time, and we're working late into the hours, we're working on the weekends, and then after a few months we realize, wow, I am building this business, but I sacrificed my family or my health in the process of doing that. So, and how many entrepreneurs do we know at the very beginning, they're working those crazy hours, they're missing that family time, they're staying up late and working through the weekends, and then they're just exhausted all the time. That's not building a business you love. That's just doing a grind and doing a hustle. And we're not building a hustle, we're building a sustainable business that can be long lasting and have impact and create income for the long term. So you need to start building those habits now on what you want to do. A lot of people will say, I'm going to build those habits when I start making money or when I have clients. No, that starts right at the very, very beginning of your business. So here's what you can do. Here's some questions you can ask at the very beginning. And really what you're doing is you're kind of creating an employee handbook for your new job. Because even if you're working a full-time job, I was working a full-time job when I first started my business. I was an assistant principal and I was kind of doing this on the side. But until I got really serious about making it a second job, it was just a hobby. So here's how you make this kind of employee handbook about your new business. What am I willing to sacrifice for the short term in order to make this happen? So you might have to sacrifice some late nights or some weekends, but you should set a deadline. I'm only going to do this habit for the next 3 months. And I did that in the winter time when my boys weren't in soccer and we weren't having outside games. I was willing to sacrifice the weekends during that short period of time. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my weekends once soccer season started because going to their games is a high priority for me. So set a short-term sacrifice that you might want to make, but then set a deadline that you're not going to go past no matter what. Even if things are doing well, you're going to keep that boundary. How many hours per week can I reasonably work without sacrificing my time with my family or any other priorities you have, like working out or volunteering or being in nature? How many hours are reasonable? You still need to get to bed at a good time. You still need to get up at a good time, because if you're not getting that important rest, then you're just going to burn out. It's not sustainable. When during the day am I going to work? Is it early mornings? I actually do really well early in the mornings. We get up between 5 and 5:30, and I get a lot of stuff done in this time frame between 5:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. I'm not so great anymore. The older that I get, working late at night past about 9 o'clock. My efficiency after 9 o'clock, I can do work, but I'm so inefficient. I may as well just go to bed and get up and work the next day. But when am I going to work during the day? How much am I going to work on the weekends? What time am I going to go to bed? And what time am I going to get up in order to keep that healthy rhythm that's sustainable for the long haul? Building a business isn't a sprint. It is a long marathon, and you want to make sure, just like an athlete, that you are setting up rhythms and sustainable practices that will carry you through building the business the whole time. Where am I going to work? I work on an actual, old school computer down here in my basement. And this, when I'm sitting here, tells my body that I am at work. And my kids know that when I'm sitting at this computer, I am doing work and I need to not be interrupted. So where am I going to work? Some people want to work on the couch. Some people want to lay in bed and work. For me, that doesn't work, because that tells my body that I'm lounging around and, I'm not in work mode. So for me, I need to have a desk. I need to have a place that I'm sitting. Where am I going to work? I also work in the library. I go to our public library, and that's a great place for me to work. And I know that when I go to the library, there are certain tasks that I can get done. I actually don't take a computer with me. I just do calendar work on paper. I make lists. I plan my content for Facebook Live by hand. So where are you going to do that work? And then what am I going to wear when I go to work? I know this is probably a little controversial, but when I first started in my business, I was like, I'm gonna wear my jammies. I'm at home. But again, being in my jammies told my brain and my body and my family members that I was lounging. And that's not a job, that's a hobby or something fun I do on the side. So for me, I do wear more comfortable clothes than I did when I had to go to the office every day, especially like nice comfy pants. But I get ready, I take a shower, I put on a little bit of makeup, because even if I'm not going anywhere for the day, I'm telling myself in my rhythms that I am getting ready for work, for a job, not just a hobby. So you might be able to do something different, and that's fine. You need to figure out what works for you, but then stick to it. And just like I mentioned before, you want to write these expectations down: when you're going to show up, how you're going to show up, where you're going to show up, what your rest rhythms are going to be. And you're going to make a little, it could be 1 page, it could just be some bullet points, but that's now your employee handbook and your agreement that you've made with yourself about this new business. Part of what's so hard about building a business is you're the only one making decisions. And so this is like a binding contract that you're making with yourself, that's in writing, that you can refer back to. Am I doing what I said I was going to do? And then show up, every day, or whenever you committed to working, following those guidelines. I see, oh, yes. Okay. So, suggestions about distractions and focused work. For me, that is really hard. I have found that my distractions, are often because I don't have a plan, a specific plan for that block of time. I don't know if that's true for you. I get distracted because I see an email pop up with a new free offer, or I go onto Facebook to look for something for work, but then I start death scrolling. So I have really become very particular about what I'm going to do in each block of each day. And that's part of what I do in my work for my 90-day sprint, is I have blocks of time for each day of the week and what kind of work I'm going to do in each block. So it might be content planning, and I'm only doing content planning. I don't let anything else distract me because that's my only time to plan my content. I have time where I write my newsletters, and that's all I do in that time. And that's Thursday afternoons, and my content planning is Monday afternoons. And so I have gotten really diligent about what type of work I'm going to do when during the week, so then I don't get so distracted during that time. Yeah, it is really hard. And when I don't have a plan, then I just kind of flounder during my time that I'm working. So that's my best suggestion, is to have a really, really specific plan. And then if I find that I'm really distracted, instead of trying to plow through, which sometimes I try to do, I think it's my brain and my body telling me I need a break. I need to go outside. I need to go for a walk. Sometimes I need to just stop and eat lunch. Sometimes I forget to eat lunch because I'm just plowing through my time. Sometimes I need to just stop and I go eat lunch and I watch a TV show while I'm eating lunch. I don't watch a lot of TV, but sometimes my brain is so distracted and not focused because I actually need a break from my work. And I've also learned that when I get really distracted and unfocused, there may be times that it's just time to shut it down for the day, that I actually haven't rested enough, and that trying to plow ahead is really just going to be ineffective and inefficient. So hopefully those are some things that are helpful to you. And I'd love to chat with you more if you want to put more comments down there. I'm learning how to see them. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, the third thing that I think when you're building a business, a way that you can start with you. The first one was doing a personal and business inventory, seeing where you have assets and where you have deficits. The second thing is to create an employee handbook to know your work habits, and to show up that way in your business. And the third thing is to know where you're headed long term. And this isn't specifics. It's not how you're going to do that. It's not that I want to sell a course that does X, Y, and Z, but this is about the bigger picture. What this is not is I'm going to have 10 employees working for me and we're going to sell this and the business is going to make X amount of money. This exercise that I'm suggesting that you do isn't about how you're going to build your business. It's why and what you're willing to do and not do. So, for example, by definition, your business should make a profit. That's that income piece. And I actually believe as a Christian that we as business owners have a responsibility to make a healthy profit so that we can keep providing our product that is helpful to other people and having an impact. If we aren't making a profit, then we aren't able to continue that. And I have a book that I've suggested over and over, The Prayer-Filled Entrepreneur, and I'll link it below, where it talks about this idea if you're struggling with making a profit, the idea of making a profit. So here in this step, it's a bigger focus than just what I'm going to do. So here are some things that I have written down, and if they resonate with you, you can use them, but I would encourage you to make your own. I have 4 bullet points. And they are, I want to build a business that helps people and gives me the opportunity to serve others. When I'm helping people and I see them be successful, it is a blessing to me. It's like this amazing cycle that God has given us of I get to use my skills and abilities, other people get to be impacted, and what I do is multiplied. And I want this idea of serving people and then being blessed in return to be at the forefront of all I do in my business. So see, that's a much bigger idea than just I want to sell a course. That big idea can drive me no matter where God directs me in my business, whether I end up selling a course or not. My second bullet point is I want to use the skills God has given me to the best of my ability, because that in turn blesses other people. When I'm my best self as a teacher and a coach and an encourager, that helps other people to be at their best. And when I do what only I can do, what God has equipped me to do, and I know what that is because I did a personal inventory way back at the beginning, it helps people. And for me, it's so fun. I literally could do that work all day, every day, because it's just so fun. It matches what my skills and abilities are, and it helps people. The third bullet point for me is I want to be an example to others of what is possible with God. All of this has felt so impossible to me and overwhelming, and maybe I am actually not very equipped to do this, but I want to show other people that by being faithful to what God has called me to do, they can do the same. And then my fourth bullet point is my business will honor God and prioritize my family. If I can't be flexible in my work schedule that I'm building for this new business with my hours, so that I can be fully present with my family, then something's wrong and something's broken. Now, there are going to be seasons when I'm in a launch for a course, or there may be a few weeks where I have to push really hard. That's purposeful, and I've decided to make that decision. I haven't just let it happen to me. So these are kind of my four big things that I keep at the forefront of my business. I know where I'm headed, and these are my guardrails, no matter where I go, whether it's into more coaching or doing this or that. These are the four big principles of where I'm headed that are non-negotiable to me. And I know all of this because I've done the work of the personal inventory. I've done some work around what my work habits are going to be. And I know some of the things from my old work in public education that I want to leave behind. So it's been through really thoughtful reflection that I've come up with these kind of four big pillars. They kind of sound like values, which are also important to have in your business, but these are more behind the scenes. I don't necessarily like publish that on my website or tell people about it, but those are the things that drive me. And when things start to feel out of balance, I go back to these four principles, and am I upholding them in my business? So what's important to you? Where are you headed in the long term? Not just dreaming, but like what is it that you want your business to look like and feel like as you're building it? What do you want to remember as you build your business? And for you, what's non-negotiable? Like bottom line, non-negotiable that my business is going to interfere with my family. I quit my old job for that number one purpose, to be available for my family especially as my boys move through middle school and high school. And I don't want to build a business that gets in the way of that. That is non-negotiable. There's no dollar amount to me that I could make, or even impact I could make outside of my business, outside of my family, that's worth it to sacrifice my family time. So let me see if there's any questions. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So these three exercises, a personal business inventory, establishing purposeful work habits, and knowing where you're headed, are all great ways to start your business with you and not just your customer in mind. You're getting your head in the right mindset and clearing out some of the clutter or bad habits that you might have that you don't want to take into your business long term. So one of the biggest things that I teach my clients is to get organized from the start. I know that business owners, especially entrepreneurs, we've got sticky notes everywhere and notebooks, and we're taking notes here, and we've got stuff on our computer, and we've got this Google Drive, and we've got this Google form, and it's all over the place. And I think that's great, and sometimes that's the way it happens, but we need to be organized from the beginning, because at some point your business is really going to take off. All of a sudden you're going to have a bunch of people on your email list, a bunch of people in your Facebook group that's going to demand your time, and you aren't going to have time and energy to go back and get organized. So let's get organized from the beginning. So what I do is, and the other thing I'll say is, it takes a lot of energy to be disorganized. So you have a choice to make. You can either spend that energy long-term staying disorganized, or you can take some time right now and get yourself organized so that it doesn't cost you so much energy later. it's all about energy and how we spend it. So I encourage people to get organized. So what I tell my clients to do is to get a 3-ring binder, and I have one. I would show it to you, but it's in my bag over here because I'm going to the library this morning, so I have it all packed up. But get a 3-ring binder, and even if you type all of this stuff up into Google Drive, my suggestion is that you print it to put it in this binder, which I call your business Bible. So that you have a reference binder if something were to happen online and your Google Drive were to crash. I've never had that happen, but you just never know. You've got this binder that you can refer to. It's not a working notebook. I have another one of those. That's an actual working notebook where I'm taking notes all of the time and working from it. This is a reference binder where you keep all of these documents to refer back to them. Your personal and business inventory, your work habits, your employee handbook, so to speak, your whys of where you're headed in your business, and you get it started in this business binder. And that's what I help my clients get, is this binder that then will help them throughout the rest of their business as they're building it. It's a reference for you as you go. So here are your next steps for today as we close out. Number 1, complete the steps above: an inventory, establishing those work habits, and knowing where you're headed. Start that binder now. Take some time, put it on your calendar, get focused on that time, and stop recreating the same things over and over. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs, they get started and they write a mission statement, but then they forgot where they put it. So then they write another mission statement. Or, they have their avatar all worked out, but then they kind of forgot where it was. It's buried in their Google Drive, so they work on it again. So instead of recreating and doing this work over and over again, start this binder, put that information in there, and get organized. And then the third thing I would say is, if you need help doing all of this, if it doesn't come naturally to you, I would love to help. This is actually like my skill that I love to do, is helping people get organized and get started. It's kind of a crazy thing, but it's what I love to do. So it's the coaching that I do, and I would love to help you not make the same mistakes that I did on your business journey. So you can really shorten the learning curve by doing some of these things early on and getting some help. And the truth is that I really would love to help you. I have a lot to offer you as you set up your business, but if I'm not the right coach for you, that's fine. I would love to help connect you to the right person who is the right coach for you. That really in the end will help you save time and money. And I really believe that when I help others, even if it's connecting you with a different coach or a different course to purchase, that in the end, I'll be blessed either way. So I really am happy to help. And I do a 1-hour free discovery call for people who are just interested to see what I offer and to see if we might work well together. So as we wrap up, here's what's on tap for next week. It's my phrase, doing the right work at the right time. And we're going to talk all about that and how to be sure that you are doing the right work at the right time. In James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he talks about the difference between motion and action, and how a lot of times we're just creating a lot of motion in our business and we aren't actually moving forward. And I want to help you create action in your business that helps you maximize both your impact and your income. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'll be back on Monday morning next week at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And in between now and then, I'd love to have you in my Facebook group, and I'll drop some links below to some other videos that I've done that relate to the topics for today. So I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for joining me today. We'll see you later.